This season of the Business Infrastructure Podcast, we actually tried something different. We attempted a smooth operator audio masterclass. It was a lot of work, but a lot of fun, and we hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to season 15. I'm Alicia Butler-Pierre, and at this point, we've heard from over 100 entrepreneurs, executives, and experts on how they use business infrastructure to achieve things like scale, sustainability, and profitable success. Now, many of you have expressed a very strong interest in learning even more details about exactly how to create business infrastructure. Well, the wait is over because this season is actually a business infrastructure masterclass. Now, here's what you can expect. Over the next 13 weeks, you'll hear the stories of different entrepreneurs experiencing growing pains in their respective businesses. Each of them will work with a consultant who will teach them how to create business infrastructure as a foundation to support future growth. I'll then teach you exactly what the consultant teaches each entrepreneur in a separate episode following each story. Does that make sense? So basically, there will be an episode that features a story, followed by a tutorial episode, story, tutorial, story, tutorial. Got it? And we'll do that all the way to the end of the season. So without any further ado, this is episode 182. Identity Crisis, the story of Emily Miller and the fast-growing nonprofit. Emily Miller is the founder of a successful nonprofit. Her recent appearance on a daytime TV show puts that nonprofit on the map, but it also exposes her leadership weaknesses. In fact, she's heard from a reliable source that the board wants to replace her, which she interprets as an impending coup d'etat threatens to undermine what she's built. She's running out of time and options. This puts her in a vulnerable position. She needs to work with someone she can trust. She'll ultimately get support from an unlikely source who'll introduce her to business infrastructure. Specifically, they're going to do a business parts analysis that will secure her future and reputation. That is, if it's not too late.
Oh my goodness, she's singing this song about me.
On what should have been one of the happiest days of her life, Emily Miller found herself sobbing uncontrollably as her favorite artist, along with 50,000 concert goers, sang with the band harmoniously playing along. Emily's friends had surprised her with a trip to London, England to see Sade perform. January 10th, 2015 marked her 55th birthday, and considering her recent divorce, Emily needed a mood lifter and her friends knew it. She was thrilled to be here, yet she couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of sorrow. Her only redemption was the fact that it was dark inside the arena, and her friends were too distracted to notice her. Quickly, she reached into her purse and grabbed a tissue to wipe away the evidence. She was sure her makeup was a mess by now. As the next song played, Emily began reflecting on the past 10 years of her life. How could this be? In the blink of an eye, her life turned from a merry-go-round of good fortune to a roller coaster of unpredictable peaks and valleys. This trip to England was also to celebrate her nonprofit's 10-year anniversary. Little did her friends, yet alone most people, know that her board was planning to dethrone her as executive director. You see, Emily was good at keeping up appearances. Her adolescent years spent in charm school taught her that masking public emotion was proper etiquette. Before the concert ended, she had already reapplied her makeup, further masking her pain with her trademark smile, a quality known for being a key ingredient in getting her way. Friends and family alike always joked that Emily would make an excellent salesperson or attorney. She was good at persuading people to give her what she wanted. However, all that seemed to be changing. Her charm was fading. After 32 years of marriage, her husband asked for a divorce, And now she was in jeopardy of losing control of her nonprofit, an organization she had built and nurtured from inception. These painful reminders overshadowed the remainder of her London trip, and sadly, she still had no viable solution for the board's plans to replace her. She convinced herself the answer would present itself on the flight home. The 8-hour flight from Heathrow to Dulles was a blur. Emily needed more time to ponder her next move. Play chess, not checkers, is what she kept telling herself. It was a phrase her father often told her whenever she pondered a decision, as strategic thinking was never her strong suit.
But how? I don't even own a chess set. I don't even know the rules for playing chess. All I've ever known is how to play checkers.
Then she remembered a book her oldest son gave her as a birthday gift. So far, he was the only one who knew what she was going through. And in his gentle, indirect way, he inserted into the book the business card of someone he believed could help his mother. As Emily examined the card, she managed to draw a smile. She recognized the name on the business card. It belonged to her son's best childhood friend, Timothy McKiver. Though apprehensive, she decided she would take her son's advice and call Tim the next day. Just then, the pilot announced that the plane would descend in Washington, D.C. in 20 minutes. The next day saw Emily feeling better. When she turned on her cell phone, she learned that her voicemail box was full. Her top priority was to call her parents as well as her sons. They all needed to know she was okay and had arrived home safely. Her conversation with her parents was the usual heartbreak. Her dad seemed to lose memory of her as each day passed. The dementia progressed faster than her family anticipated. The next phone call was to her youngest son, Michael, a freshman at Arizona State University. He always managed to make her feel better with each conversation. Emily's last call was to her oldest son, Brian, a real estate attorney and freshly minted entrepreneur living in New York City. When he answered, her mother's intuition told her that something was wrong.
Are you okay, son? What's wrong? You sound down. How's the business coming along?
Okay, Mom. I don't want to bother you with my troubles. You have enough stressing you out. Hey, have you called Tim yet?
No, not yet. I plan on calling him this afternoon.
Don't wait, Mom. I don't like what the board is up to. We need to jump on this right away. I've already talked to Tim and he's expecting your call.
After ending her call with Brian, Emily held her cell phone in one hand, picked up Tim's business card with the other, and headed toward the staircase leading to her basement. For the past 10 years, this basement has served as the headquarters for her fast-growing nonprofit. But the board argued that it was time to relocate to a quote-unquote more suitable location conducive to business. Deep down, Emily knew they were right, but she liked the coziness of her space and worried that a new location would change the culture of her nonprofit. She sat down at the head of a long wooden table that rested in the center of the basement and then dialed the number on the business card. Tim knew the reason Emily was calling, and out of respect for their mother-son-like relationship, waited for her to bring it up first.
Tim, Brian gave me your card and said you could help me. I really don't know where to start. Shortly after you boys finished high school, about a month before the start of the following fall, I received notification that my services were no longer needed at the middle school where I taught.
Oh, Mrs. Miller, I'm so sorry.
Don't be. And by the way, it's Ms. Miller now. Sure, I was upset at first, but that waned once I started my nonprofit, which I was inspired to start as a result of meeting with so many people my age who were also displaced from work. We were all too young to retire legally, yet too old to hire. Their stories were all so heartbreaking. I decided to channel my anger and frustration into creating an organization that would empower us to convert these obstacles into opportunities through the power of relationships. The concept took off too. With the help of my garden and tennis clubs and the scores of contacts through my ex-husband's real estate law practice, I had a strong pool of employers eager to attend my matchmaking events. My events are a far cry from a career fair. I work hard to create an environment that encourages genuine conversation and networking. Before I knew it, people were getting jobs, and word about my events spread faster than fire. The next thing we knew, we were helping dozens of people throughout DC, Maryland, and Virginia with quality connections that landed them jobs. Mikey had already taken Brian's room when he graduated and left for college, so I used the empty bedroom as my new office. I quickly outgrew that space and moved down to the basement. I had more room to spread out, and things really took off. Eventually, I hired an assistant, started adding more people to the board, and
Emily stopped abruptly. Thinking about the board and the recent anguish they had caused her almost made her cut the story short.
the board, the current bane of my existence.
Emily didn't want to leave the wrong impression and immediately regretted saying that. Instead of going down a path of negativity, she continued talking about what led her to her latest fast growth predicament.
Just when I didn't think things could get any better, I had the opportunity to appear as a subject matter expert on that daytime TV show. I was only on air for about 5 minutes, but that was enough to see my nonprofit's popularity go through the roof. We were gaining momentum fast. Turns out that was their concern. It was happening too fast. The board said that my being the face of the nonprofit was an issue. What if something should happen to you? They'd always ask. Meanwhile, with each new donor, each new client, each new event, my time was no longer mine. It belonged to my organization. This meant more time away from Dan, the boys, my parents, pretty much everyone. I justified it by saying I was saving people's livelihoods. Dan would say, yeah, while destroying your own.
Sounds like you lost work-life balance in the midst of the growth. Is that an accurate assessment?
In retrospect, yes, that's exactly what happened. Before I knew it, Dan filed for divorce. My dad was diagnosed with dementia, and one of the board members, who I still consider to be a very good friend and reliable source, told me about the board's plan to replace me.
Looking at his watch, Tim realized that 30 minutes had passed and he needed to leave for a meeting across town. He wanted to resume their conversation and invited her to dinner. Once she hung up the phone, Emily decided to take a walk. It was cold out, but she needed fresh air. An hour later, she returned home, checked her phone, and noticed an email from Tim's assistant. Emily and Tim would meet for dinner next week at a restaurant in Baltimore.
Baltimore? Well, at least I'll get a good crab cake.
As a native Washingtonian, Emily grew up with a natural aversion to Baltimore, Maryland, a city relatively close in proximity to D.C. that seemed worlds apart. Although she was apprehensive about traveling to Baltimore to meet Tim, she knew she would have to put that aside and focus on the issue at hand, rescuing her nonprofit. Tim stood up from the table where he was sitting and held his arms open.
Mrs. Miller, you look stunning.
Well, you don't look so bad yourself, Tim.
So, Miss Miller, why don't you tell me that story?
Tim hoped he didn't come across as condescending. He wanted to be careful not to offend Emily, but he also realized he needed to be in consulting mode.
As I mentioned during our last call, things were going well until the board grew larger. Wouldn't you know it, the person they voted to add to the board was none other than a client I highly recommended, Clara Dixon. From day one of joining the board, I noticed a change in Clara. She started making sly remarks, wanting to change things here and there. It seemed harmless at first, but progressively got worse. She's since been like a virus, spreading her poison and influencing the board that, mind you, I originally assembled for a nonprofit that I created. She's been plotting a coup to have me removed, saying that I'm not qualified to be executive director, that I lack the vision to truly lead the nonprofit to the next level. And truthfully, I think she wants my job.
Tim made direct eye contact with Emily. It was time to deliver news that he was sure she'd take exception to. He needed to be careful in his delivery.
Miss Miller, first, Thank you for sharing your story with me. There's a lot to unpack here, but I'll start with something I noticed from our phone call last week. You say my nonprofit or my organization. I think that's a symptom of the larger issue. It does not belong exclusively to you. You need to change your narrative from owner to founder.
Emily's raised eyebrows caused fine lines to appear across her forehead. Unmoved, Tim continued.
I have a hunch that you're a victim of the Peter Principle. Do you know what the Peter Principle is?
No.
I hope you've enjoyed listening to this story about Emily Miller. If you want to hear the full story, there's two things that you can do. One, you can actually buy my book. It's called Behind the Facade: How to Structure Company Operations for Sustainable Success. Emily's story is actually featured in chapter 2 of this book. And in there, you'll find out exactly what Tim does to help her overcome being replaced as the founder and CEO of her nonprofit. The other way that you can hear the full story is by signing up for the Smooth Operator Masterclass at smoothoperator.courses. There's a link below as well as in the description box below. Make sure you sign up, buy the book, and you'll hear all of the details about how to create a business parts analysis and how it can actually apply to your business as well. See you in the next video.